Hello everyone, and welcome to this tutorial on how to use Microsoft Access 2016 to create a student records table. If you're like me at the beginning of a new school year, you have all sorts of information you need to be able to access quickly about your students. For me, I always create a table that I can pull specific information from later if necessary. When you launch Microsoft Access, you're going to have a variety of databases available that you can choose from. For this purpose, we're just going to use a blank desktop database. When I open it, it's going to ask me to name the database and then where I want to save it. For this, I'm just going to put it as Student Database, and I'm just going to leave it in my documents. Tell it to create. When it opens, it'll open to a new table. The default for Access is to automatically put in something called an ID field. Instead of column headings, they are called fields. I don't necessarily need an ID field here, so in just a moment, I'm going to show you how to get rid of this particular field and put in only what you need. Currently, our table is in something called Datasheet View. For me personally, I have found the easiest way to create a table in Access is to instead go to something called Design View. To get to those, if you come directly under your File button, you will see a View button. If I click the downward arrow, it's going to show me, as I said, we're in Datasheet View, but I want to change it instead to Design View. Then it's going to prompt me to save my table. For this table, I'm just going to call it Student Information. When I tell it OK, it'll take me into Design View. Here's the first field that, as I said, is a default. You're going to notice right here there is a little icon that is a symbol of a key. This is something called a primary key. In Access, a primary key works as a unique identifier that doesn't allow multiple records to have the same field here. For students, this could be very helpful because most schools have either a student ID number or they'll use a student social security number. But as I said, for this, I'm going to do away with this particular field and put in what I need. So I'm going to first come up and deselect my primary key button. You're going to notice immediately that's gone. Then I'm going to change my field name. The first field that I'm going to put in is last name. Then I'm going to come over to my data type. Because originally it was an ID field, it set it to auto number. What we're going to do instead, I'm going to change this to something called short text. Then you do have the ability to put in a description, but as you see it is optional, and in this I think it's self-explanatory. Then I want to come down for every field to look at the field properties. This is what makes every field what it is. Currently, the field size is 255 characters. That means with this database, I would have up to 255 characters that I could type in. Most last names are no more than 15 characters. So what I'm going to do is change my field size to 15. This will help limit the space that takes up wherever you're saving the database. Then I'm going to come back up. I'm going to put in my next field. For this one, I'm going to do first name. Then when I come over to my data type, again, I'm going to use short text. Last names, as we all know, can be a little bit longer, specifically if you have multiple last names, hyphens, that sort of thing. So for my field size this time, I'm going to change it instead to 20. Then I'm going to put in some of the key information that we would all need to know about our students. One of those, of course, is going to be address. I'm going to leave it again, short text, and come down to my field size. Depending on where you live, addresses can be all different lengths. So for this one, I recommend erring on the side of caution, giving it a little bit more as far as field size. So for my address, I'm going to change it to a 50. Then city, again, short text. This time I'm going to change it to 15 again. State, short text, but this time I'm going to change my field size to 2. Next, I'm going to do zip. But I'm also going to do something different as far as my data type. For the moment, I'm going to leave it short text, but I'm going to come down to my field properties. If I come down to something called an input mask, this is kind of a way of choosing exactly how you want it laid out. So if I click on the box over from input mask, you're going to notice there are 3 little buttons that come up here, or 3 little dots. When I click on that, it's going to tell me I have to save, but then it's going to show me different ways that it can set it up to look. I want my zip code to match this, so I'll click on it, tell it next. You can decide whether it has placeholders or not. I'll walk you through the steps, tell it next again. If you want to have the dash in there, or if you want it without. I'm a big fan of the dash, so I'm going to put it in. Then I'm going to go ahead and tell it to finish. Now I'm only going to put in a couple more fields, but you can add as many as you need. The next field that I'm going to put in is phone number. Again, I'm going to come over to my data type, and contrary to popular thought, I'm not going to set it to number because I want to use instead an input mask. So I'll come down again to my input mask, click on my dots, tell it to save. This time, input mask is for phone number. I'm going to tell it next, next again. Again, I want the symbols, so I'm going to select this one, and then tell it to finish. As I said, you can add as many fields as you need, and they can always be added or edited, deleted, whatever you need later. The next one I'm going to put in, and this one's very important, especially if you have younger students, this would be if you need to know who has allergies. So I'm going to put in an allergies field, but this time my data type is going to be a text box, or a yes/no box. Once I have all the fields in that I need, and as said, you can add multiple, I'm going to come back over to my view button, and I'm going to change it back to datasheet view. And Access is great because it always wants you to save. Once you're here in datasheet view, you can see where you would add in whatever student information you need. All you would have to do is type it in. One of the great things that I will show you is if you have information that is too long for the particular box, you can come up here in between your field headings, double click, and it will automatically expand to fit whatever information is there, and that's called AutoFit. When you're ready, you can add in all your student records and they'll be saved automatically. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.